Got some static with some niggas on the other side of town. Let my little cousin K roll, he's a rider now. What they want from us motherfucking thug niggas. Used to love niggas, now I plug niggas and slug niggas. Am I wrong? Niggas making songs trying to get with us. Must be gone off stress. We in the West, we trust. To the chest I bust, then we ride to the sun come shining back to brighten up the sky. I mean he died. Heard the Fuji was trying to do me. Look bitch, I cut your face. This ain't no motherfucking movie.
The inmate laughed out loud when he saw Tupac doing push-ups in the yard 30 seconds later. That same man could not look Tupac in the eyes. Nobody in that yard expected what happened next. And nobody forgot it either. If you want more untold Tupac prison stories, subscribe and hit the bell right now. It was a Tuesday morning in the fall of 1995, somewhere between 6 and 7, when the prison yard at Clinton Correctional Facility opened up for the first outdoor recreation hour of the day. The air was cold, the kind of cold that cuts through an orange jumpsuit like it is not even there, and the concrete ground still had the gray dampness of the night before. Most inmates came out slowly, shuffling toward their corners, their crews, their routines. But one man came out alone, walked straight to an open patch of concrete near the far fence, dropped down without a word, and started doing push-ups. That man was Tupac Shakur. He had been inside Clinton for only a few weeks at that point, long enough to learn the layout, short enough that most men were still trying to figure out exactly what kind of person he was going to be in here. On the outside, he was one of the most recognized voices in the entire country. Albums, interviews, magazine covers, sold-out shows. But none of that followed him through the intake doors. In here, he was just another inmate in an orange jumpsuit with a number on his chest and time to serve. And some men in that yard were watching him very carefully. Marcus Webb had been inside Clinton for going on 6 years by that point. He was not the biggest man in the facility, but he carried himself like he owned every inch of the place, because in many ways he did. He had built his reputation slowly, the way all lasting reputations inside a prison are built, through patience, through consistency, and through making sure that every man in that yard understood where the lines were. Marcus did not need to raise his voice. He did not need to surround himself with a crowd. He simply existed in that yard with a kind of authority that most men in there had accepted without question for years. When Marcus noticed Tupac drop down and start his workout, he watched for a moment. Then he said something to the man standing next to him, low enough that only a few people nearby caught it. He looked at Tupac doing push-ups on that cold concrete and he laughed. Not a big performance of a laugh, just a short, quiet sound that carried more dismissal in it than any insult could. The meaning was clear to everyone who heard it. He thinks he is still somebody. He thinks what he was on the outside means something in here. A few other inmates near Marcus caught the laugh and looked over. Some of them smiled. Some of them just watched to see what would happen next. Tupac did not stop. He did not look up. He kept going, his breathing steady, his form tight, his focus locked entirely on the ground beneath his hands. One rep after another, controlled and deliberate, like there was no yard, no audience, no cold air, no laughter, just the work. Marcus watched for another few seconds and then pushed off the fence and started walking toward him. He moved slowly, the way a man moves when he is not in a hurry, because he believes the situation is already decided. The inmates nearby shifted, not dramatically, not obviously, but they moved. The way people move when they sense that something is about to happen and they want to be close. Enough to see it, but far enough to stay out of it. A loose circle began to form without anyone officially deciding to form one. Marcus stopped about 5 feet from Tupac and looked down at him. He said nothing at first, just stood there and waited. Tupac finished his set, took one breath, and stood up. He did not dust himself off. He did not look around at the crowd that had gathered. He looked directly at Marcus and waited. Marcus spoke first. He told Tupac that he had been watching him since he arrived. He told him that this yard had a way of working. that it had been working that way long before Tupac got there, and that it was going to keep working that way long after. He told him that it did not matter what a man did before he came through those gates. That in here, reputation was built one day at a time, and that nobody was handed anything. He said it the way a man says something when he expects the other person to look away. Tupac did not look away. When Marcus finished, Tupac was quiet for a moment. The yard was quiet too. The kind of quiet that happens when a group of people collectively hold their breath without realizing it. Then Tupac spoke. His voice was calm, low, and completely steady. He told Marcus that he agreed with him, that he was not there to be treated special, that he was not asking for anything he had not earned. But he also said, plainly and without any heat in his voice, that he was not there to be laughed at either. Not by anyone, he said it once. He did not repeat it. He did not add anything to it. Marcus looked at him for a long moment, the kind of look a man gives when he is measuring something, recalculating, deciding. Nobody in that circle moved. Nobody spoke. The cold air sat still between the two of them like it was waiting too. Then Marcus gave a single nod, not a smile, not an apology, just a nod. The kind that means understood. The kind that, in a place like Clinton Correctional Facility, means more than most words ever could. He turned and walked back toward the fence. The circle dissolved as quietly as it had formed. Men went back to their routines, their corners, their conversations. But something had shifted in that yard, and everyone who had been standing there knew it. Not because there had been a fight, not because anyone had been hurt, but because a man had been tested in front of witnesses and had not flinched, had not performed, had not tried to prove anything beyond the simple fact that he knew exactly who he was. Tupac dropped back down to the concrete and kept doing push-ups. Nobody laughed. That morning in the yard at Clinton Correctional Facility did not make any headlines. There was no footage, no article, no official record of what happened between those two men on that patch of cold concrete. But the people who were standing in that circle, the ones who watched it happen in real time, they carried that story with them. They told it to other inmates in other blocks, in other facilities. Because what happened that morning was not really about pushed ups or laughter or a 5-second stare down between two men. It was about something much simpler and much harder to find in a place like that. It was about a man who walked into one of the most unforgiving environments in the country and refused to become someone else in order to survive it. Tupac Shakur served his time at Clinton Correctional Facility and walked out the same way he walked in, knowing exactly who he was. That is not something every man in that yard could say. That is not something every man anywhere could say. And that is why, years later, the ones who were there still remember that Tuesday morning in the fall of 1995, when a man laughed and 30 seconds later could not look another man in the eyes. If this story hit different, you already know what to do. Hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell so you never miss another untold Tupac story. Every single video on this channel goes deeper into the moments that never made the headlines, the ones that happened behind closed doors and concrete walls, the ones that show you who a person really is when the cameras are gone and the crowd has gone quiet. This is where the real stories live. Subscribe right now and be here for every single one of them.